Hi, I'm Gretchen Hirsch. I'm a sewing blogger and designer, and today I'm going to talk about how to incorporate an exposed zipper into a pencil skirt. So you can see here I have this is the back of the pencil skirt, and I put this really fun polka dot zipper, which is showing on the outside. This is a really fun detail. It's really trendy right now, and it's great when you can incorporate something that's really fun, like a polka dot or a print or a metallic. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and when I open this up, you'll see how it's clean finished on the inside. And that's because you sort of have to forget everything you know about inserting a zipper when you do this kind of zipper, because the seam allowance get turned to the outside, which is very unusual. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. So you're going to start with a skirt, and I have two pieces of fabric here, and we're going to pretend that this is the back of my skirt. And what I've done is on the right side of the skirt, and this is going to feel really weird because you're used to always working on the wrong side of your skirt, you are going to stabilize the zipper area. And I've done this with just some fusible interfacing. And what I've done then is stay stitched around the zipper opening at 3/4 of an inch. And you see I've just sort of pivoted at the bottom and stitched off the fabric. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this right sides together. I'm going to finish the seam from the zipper opening down to the bottom of the skirt or to the top of the slit, whatever your design has. So right sides together, again, you're probably going to spend a lot of time saying, is this right? It looks weird, because it is weird. You have interfacing on the right side of your garment, which is really unusual. So you're going to pin right sides together. And what I've done here is I've given myself some chalk X's so I remember which is the wrong side, especially since my fabric looks really similar on both sides. So I'm going to match up the bottom of that stay stitching where the zipper is going to go, and I'm going to pin below there. And now I'm going to stitch this seam just using a regular straight stitch at 5/8 of an inch. So I've got my zipper foot in already. I don't technically need it at this point, but I just wanted to prepare for the next step. So you'll probably want to use your regular foot here, because we're just doing a simple straight seam. So I'm going to start right below my stay stitching where my zipper is going to go. Start my seam, back stitch. And just sew all the way down. And backstitch at the bottom, and that's it. So this is just going to emulate what your seam would look like below your zipper. So I'm going to take it over to the ironing board. But first I'm going to clip into my seam allowance. So right below the stay stitching where the zipper is going to go, I'm going to make a little horizontal snip that goes right to the seam line, but not through it. So I'm going to now press my seam below the zipper opening open, just as you normally would. So that looks like a pretty normal skirt seam. But now I'm going to go to the right side of the skirt, and I'm going to turn this seam allowance right side out. So here we're working from the right side. We have our interfacing on the right side, and I'm turning the seam allowance to the right side of the skirt. Again, it's going to feel really weird, but this is exactly how you do it. And it's going to give us a really nice clean finish on this exposed zipper. So I'm going to do that on each side. And I serge these edges because I do like to finish my edges before I sew, but we're going to end up trimming this anyway, so don't worry if you didn't serge this part. And you can always finish your seams after you sew too. Okay, so again, just pressed open, nice and clean. So now I'm working from the outside of my skirt, and I'm going to take a zipper, and here I have another one of these fun polka dot zippers, and I'm going to apply it right to the outside of the skirt. And here I'm matching up the top of the zipper with the top of the skirt. The raw edges are both matching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it over that seam line. And at the bottom, to get that really nice finish on the skirt, I'm going to wrap these ends underneath the seam allowance that's exposed and pin it in place. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to pin the whole zipper in place. And you're going to want to center the teeth of the zipper over the zipper opening. So pin the whole thing in place like that. And now you get an idea of what I'm doing. The next thing you're going to want to do is hand baste it in place. And I have a sample where I've already done that, so you can see what it looks like. And this is a fun metallic zipper. So you can see that I've hand basted right next to the zipper teeth with thread up and down each side of the zipper tape. And it's centered right over the opening. And you can see my hand basting is in a contrasting color thread. And now I'm going to stitch on the machine. I'm going to edge stitch around the teeth. And I'm going to open my zipper pull to start with. I'm going to stitch, I have my zipper foot on, so I can stitch right next to the teeth. I'm going to start below the pull. Be very careful not to stitch on any part of this zipper, as it will break your needle. I'm going to back stitch. And then just stitch very close to the zipper teeth. And when you get close to the pull, you can lower your needle, lift your presser foot, and pull up the zipper so it's closed. There it goes. And then you're going to finish stitching that side. I'm going to start right before I get to the bottom stop. And I'm going to reverse and needle up. And I'm going to do that on both sides, or you're going to do that on both sides. I'm not going to show you that, but you get the idea. So I stitch right next to the teeth. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So now we're going to trim our seam allowance, because obviously we don't want the seam allowances showing on the right side of the skirt. So what you're going to do is you're going to get under there with a nice pair of sharp scissors and trim away this seam allowance as close as you can. The object is to just make sure that it's not showing outside of the zipper tape. So it's going to be concealed, because the last thing we're going to do is top stitch this zipper so that it's going to be held in place. It gets a little tricky when you get down to the bottom, because you do have that folded under zipper tape. So I'm just going to be really careful to trim away that extra seam allowance under there. So you can see I've done that on this side of the skirt. And this side is still not top stitched or anything, or edge stitched. So the last thing I'm going to want to do is top stitch the zipper down so it's not flopping like this. So back to the machine. You might want to use a longer stitch length for top stitching. It's nice to take it up to like 3 or 3.5 just so that the stitches look really distinct. And now I'm going to top stitch around the outside of the zipper tape. Back stitch. And you're just going to go around the edges of the tape, holding it down, and then you'd pivot at the bottom to sew across the folded under end, and then at this point, you're going to backstitch. And then you would need to do the other side separately. You can see that this is completely top stitch on this side, and now I would just want to remove the basting that I did earlier. And you're going to do these steps on both sides of the zipper, obviously, so that when you open it, instead of having the seam allowances on the inside, you get this really nice clean finish. So that's the final step. So you just remove your hand basting, and that's it, and you're ready to go. If you have a facing on your skirt, you would put it in, and that would finish off the upper edges. Or you would put a waistband on, so you're not going to see these raw edges on the zipper either. So that is how you're going to do an exposed zipper on your pencil skirt.